background words and stuff. So you know, and the funny thing is with skeptics, and I enjoy skeptics, but the nice thing is I had a very, 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 very cool aha moment that I don't believe a lot of investigators honestly have had. Excluding Nick, I know his story is very surreal as well. But mind you, I came in as a skeptic. You know, I was perfectly happy with finding this whole spiritual stuff is crap. I was fine with that, and that we die and we're done. I was cool. I wouldn't complain at the time, so whatever, right? So I was about 2002 or 2003. I was in a cemetery. It's just a old cemetery with two other folks. One was a skeptic, was a minister actually, or going to ministry. So that's what her game plan was. The other one was a psychic field. I didn't really believe in that psychic crap so much then.
Yeah.
And when we stepped into the cemetery, within minutes later, the psychic feeler was feeling up a dude's leg, full beard, moved like it's like if your body was glass and black smoke was blowing through it, and you moved like a flipbook animation.
Really?
Right? Oh, yeah. And he was very intelligent because when he goes, Aaron, he's right in front of me. I froze from the waist down about 10 yards from this. And I go, dude, he's right in front of you. His head moved up to me and faded to the left. Both of us at the same time said he's gone. And the skeptic lady saw it as well. She saw a black cloud. That's what she described it as. She ran out when it was gone. And she never actually finished ministry.
Oh, wow.
And that experience was so cool because not only was I a skeptic, more or less. I mean, I knew there could have been something there, but I wasn't looking. I had I had a 35 millimeter camera, maybe a notepad. I wasn't really looking for that. Right. And I thought in my head, oh crap, monsters exist. What am I doing?
Right.
And I mental checked myself. After the fact, I looked at the moon, and I'm doing all these things. I'm doing these things that investigators would do to question. So I didn't want to jump. Mind you, I just had this weird experience that two other people witnessed. I decided to do the research heavily on that cemetery after the fact. And found out that there was this lore where father and son died in a boating accident in the 1840s, were the first ones buried there, and they're the ones who supposedly walk that cemetery. I'm not sure on what purpose, but they're seen there often. Well, I went there in daytime, by the stone, said, here lies father and son. It just all came into place. It was cool. It was one of those moments where like, shit, you know?
That sounds cool. But in my head, I'm like, oh, you know, like after the fact, I'd be like, oh, the psychic set something up, like black smoke or I don't, you know.
But that's where a skeptic's brain goes.
Right. I'm saying there's got to be some sort of explanation for this other than supernatural. I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. Right. Here's the thing. I'm a skeptic, but I'm not like, oh, you guys are dumb. What you do is stupid. I think it's interesting. Just don't have enough experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, and that you got to think.
At least
also,
I am ones and zeros, so at least I'm not reaching out.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, and at the same time too, in a skeptic's brain, you got to think like more on a psychology level. Maybe at the
mass
same time,
hallucination is what it would be called.
But at
the rarest form.
But at the same time, in a skeptic's brain, you got to think that's on a deeper level. It might be them trying to reason like, well, it can't be that because then my brain has to like wrap itself around all this other stuff.
That's exactly what it is.
There's something electrical fields.
It was wild.
And
where is this cemetery?
Mackinac Island, Michigan. It's the Post Cemetery. Yep.
Okay.
And it's tiny. It had a little wooden turn. I mean, it looked like a creepy, straight from a horror movie type place. Yeah, it looked like the Phil. Just didn't expect that moment.
That sounds very cool.
Now, did I see you guys either recently or are going to the Valencia house?
The Vlisca. Was it Vlisca? Vlisca axe murder. Yeah. We want to get there this year. There's some talks. We're buddies with the owner, who's actually a part of the network too.
Nice. He's also on the haunted.space, and I mean it's kind of hard for us.
Johnny
to get
Hauser,
out there.
Shout out.
Yeah. You know, we go out there and we film a show out there that he films on Saturdays too.
Oh, nice.
So we call it pretty much Saturday morning cartoons because he's on at like 10 a.m. inside the house getting like weird stuff happening to him. So it's
my house is, I've never been there, but I've just heard.
Oh,
if there's one house a skeptic should go to, I heard it's that house, but I haven't been there.
I've had
I've
had some buddies that went to. I think it was an overnight stay at a house. Like they get driven out by the caretaker, the owner, dropped off and said, "Don't." Gave them rules like don't touch this, don't break that, don't graffiti, that kind of thing.
My wife's up there and don't do anything.
Well, house is empty, I guess, right. But they get to camp out at the house or outside of the house or however you want to do it, and you get to bring in your recorders, your video cameras, whatever you got, and just don't disrupt, don't like graffiti, don't break this, and we're good. And then the next morning they come and they get picked up. When it comes to stuff like that, like I'm interested in that because it's okay, sounds cool, and at the same time doing something overnight, like you have a little bit more time for everything to kind of get in your head, or for you to create your own like reality, almost in the space. When you guys do your investigations, do you stay over at the locations for overnight sessions, or is it if you get to a point where we haven't heard anything in so long, we're going to get out of here?
That's exactly right. We pretty much we look for the action, and if there is none, that video doesn't make the cut to YouTube. Things have changed now since we do have to film this live show. Yeah. We're looking for places that we've been to that has, guaranteed action.
Yeah.
Stuff that we can put up live.
And when he says like action, we always catch the communication, right? Like that's exciting, but it's funny for us. It's almost every day. Like we can probably pull out our app right now and get something.
Yeah,
really. It's that consistent. People are like, well, what is ghosts real? Aren't they everywhere? Well, they are, but can you see infrared? Can you see? Can you? Well, not saying within the alpha spectrum of radiation.
For sure. Well, yeah, and that's exactly it. Nowadays, with us taking over every facet of the earth now, there's a Walmart everywhere, there's a store everywhere, there's a house everywhere. By now, as far along in civilization as we are, you got to think somebody's died a little bit of everywhere. So ghosts in that aspect, if they stay near where I lack the terminology, where the last place that body was, or if the soul or
like
spirit,
an echo, or like
if it sticks around wherever that body or the person let out their last breath, then you got to think there's probably a ghost every couple feet. Yeah. But you're probably not going to get all the best readings if you go to like a Walmart and stand in the toy section. It's like, no, don't worry about me, miss. I'm trying to find ghosts. You're probably going to get less action.
You guys need to put that statistic up on your page that a ghost has watched you. Your grandma has watched you on Pornhub.
Oh yeah, and that's either going to eat away at you. They're like, oh God, I'm never touching my pants.
You're in the bathroom.
Right.
I have to hula out of my pants now. Because grandma's going to be
so
watching.
much they don't even care anymore.
Right. Yeah. Like, or you've got the freaks that are just staring off into nothing. Like, you watching this?
Ooh, you like that?
I'm sure there's a mental thing for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
One of the biggest things in our field, and mind you, psychology plays such a huge role. Respectively so, absolutely. Because when I was first getting in, my mindset was, okay, whoever's going to join the team, whoever's going to be on the team with me, because I got a lot of pick-me-up things before I stuck with Nick, of course.
Yeah.
Any mental illnesses or anything like that, any depression, that's a real thing. I get it. But you shouldn't be doing this type of thing under those conditions. Because it would just fold the evidence. It would cause scenarios to escalate, and they don't need to.
Yeah.
A lot of people have the most craziest things when I'm not in the room.
Yeah.
And then I get there, I'm like, wait, how come it's, what's going on? Right. Like, oh, did you hear it? Oh, crap.
Right. Or in that instance, you got to think that those people that are experiencing those symptoms or those cases may be looking at this as an explanation for losing a loved one or whatever.
Oh, no doubt.
Looking at this as kind of like a Band-Aid,
no doubt.
To say. And you don't want people like that or situations like that kind of scarring the investigation or what you take from it.
Right. And pareidolia, real quick, is what I mentioned earlier before we started recording, which is basically the ink blot of the mind. So it's what you familiarize in the five senses. Gotcha. And typically hearing and sight are what we go to, and faces through blobs, through the dark, the pitch dark, or through a grainy camera, we create things, like I said, faces. It was told in script when the pilgrims were arriving in the big ships to the lovely land here, to India, right? And the Native Americans were on shore. They didn't recognize those ships until they literally hit the sand. Like, I don't know if they thought they were rocks. They never fathomed. They never designed anything in their heads that looked like those ships. Yeah. So people started storming out them and running towards them. Their heads just all warping back to reality. Yeah. And that's unfortunately a lot, I feel, when we go to conventions and stuff. Not to say that people have their personal experiences and we want to keep that in mind, but a lot of people do provide photos for us to look at with their orbs or their ghost face. Dust, yeah. Right. So you get that a lot more than.
Well, I guess that's the other thing too with something like this. To the untrained eye person, whatever you want to call it, to the untrained person, to all this, they may look at you guys as the same thing as a tarot card reader or a TV personality that can. Well, can you help me talk to my dead grandmother?
Oh yeah.
What's your approach in those occasions?
Wait, can you help me talk to my dead grandma?
Well, yes.
Okay.
But
right on.
We don't really do
Ask her where she hid that $20.
We don't really. I got ratted out on the box one time.
Ask her which one's the favorite. Yeah. You or Nate?
No.
Nate. Nah. Don't answer that.
I don't know. We do residential, or we do not do residential anymore.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that when you said that. People with conditions such as depression and stuff could affect the investigation. That is exactly why we do not do private homes.
Okay.
Because most of the time you do have somebody that's just suffered, a traumatic loss. Yeah. And they're like, they got to be here. And if we don't find anything,
of the shows
we have to break their heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't find anything in your house. Your house is definitely not haunted. And then suddenly we're the assholes.
Right.
Fake.
Now, how did you get to that point by actually going and doing private homes and then realizing this isn't for us, or just made that decision?
That was something that I learned during the big breakup of Nick and Aaron. When he was in Arizona, I joined a couple different local groups, and we did a lot of private homes. And most of the time it was a domestic issue, or the person was just But there was this one time where we did this lady over in Bettendorf. She was from she was from Australia, and that was probably the coolest private investigation I've ever done of someone's house. Was this Australian lady?
Can you give us a brief breakdown of?
Will she wear it? No, that's inappropriate.
She thought she had a dingo follow her from Australia, like a phantom dingo, and
the dog?
We actually caught like growling and stuff on the digital recorder.
And you got to think, a lot of people talk about attachments and stuff, and really your consciousness is pretty much what escapes your shell and your vessel when you pass. So if you think of it like that, your consciousness out there, and you're obsessed with this cup of coffee, that's all you're doing. Well, now you're amped up by 10 obsession with this coffee.
Right.
Well, your animals, who are they in love with? They're in love with, the owners, wholeheartedly. They're pretty much going to follow you until you go, and you're like, hey, guys, this is weird.
Right. Nowadays, people treat their pets, their animals, like their children.
Right.
Look at them in that regard. So if you show up and I need to know if Fifi's in this house, and you show that it's our Fifi's gone.
And it's tough to get. That's pretty awesome. It's.
I don't know if you've ever seen a cartoon called All Dogs Go to Heaven, but that's false.
What?
It's not real.
How about the movie Ghost? Legit.
Patrick Swayze's still with us.
We'll
find him.
Yeah, thought you'd be.
He's on stage right now doing it. You just can't see it.
Oh,
no, sorry.
Ghost Swayze and Farley still doing that bit.
That'd be, they're rocking it.
That'd be even better. But I think of ghosts in the sense of like cartoons, like with no legs and just a wispy tail. So thinking of Swayze with
it's all Casper looking.
Yeah. Now, I had. We were talking about this earlier. I made a joke about it growing up. The house that I lived in, an older house, and before we moved in it, my family mom, dad, me, and my sister, before we moved in, the